Greetings and welcome to Week 2 of iHoops, the Journal Star's look at boys high school basketball around Illinois. I'm Brent Glasgow.
And I'm Greg Stewart. The big story this week is Peoria District 150's announcement that it plans to erase a $9 million budget deficit by closing 5 schools next year. That list apparently includes Woodruff High School. And while that's certainly a startling announcement, I don't think many people in Peoria were surprised to hear that 150 plans to close one of its 4 public high schools. But it's certainly the bad timing for the Woodruff boys basketball team. Right now the Warriors are off to a 12-4 start, which is their best start in school history. Journal Star records date back to 1956, and in those 53 years the Warriors have never been 12-4 at this point in the season. Also, Woodruff has never won more than 18 games in a year, and something they could accomplish this year. On Monday at the River City Shootout, we talked to Warriors coach Charlie Thomas and asked him on how the news is affecting his team and how they plan to deal with it.
We stressed that nothing's happened yet, so try to keep them under control. My young guys were really upset. Of course, the seniors being their last year, they're thinking, but they want that little legacy to come back to. So
sure,
we handled it as best we could.
Now you have a really nice nucleus of young players, 3 sophomores in particular. Those guys upset about that there's a possibility they might not be together or at least playing at Woodruff next year?
Yeah, I would say the chances are if something like that happens, they would not all 3 be together. I think they might split, which would be terrible. I would hope that that doesn't happen, but yeah, they could end up at all different schools.
And do you, what do you, as a coach, how do you, keep them focused, keep them together when something like that is present in the locker room?
Well, what we told them was that we're going to hope to plan on that if this is the last year for Woodruff, we want to make it a memorable one. Go out, it's kind of like a flash,
Sure.
We're trying to use that as a positive right now, but I'm going to be very honest, the negatives are outweighing the positive right now. It's pretty tough to keep them focused on basketball.
Obviously, Coach Thomas and the faculty at Woodruff is opposed to this news, but for some of his players, at least the younger ones anyway, I feel a little bit differently. Journal Star reporter Ben Diggle talked to Woodruff sophomore point guard Trey Dorsey on Monday at the shootout, and Dorsey welcomes the idea of combining with Central. There was news that if Woodruff closed, those students would go to Peoria Central, and for the sophomore boys basketball players, they're somewhat excited about that. This is what Dorsey had to say, quote, "I think it would be pretty good. The 2 sophomore classes at both schools are pretty good, and plus they have Bobo Drummond, so I think we would be pretty good," end quote. And that's certainly an interesting thought to entertain. If there was a merger between those 2 schools or teams, Central's Bobo Drummond and Travis Kellum in the same lineup with Dorsey, Andrew Jordan, and Tylander Amos, that would be a really nice team.
Well, Greg, a lot of good games this weekend as usual. One of those certainly 11-4 IVC. They will travel to 14-1 Princeton. IVC currently leads the North Central Conference Lincoln Division with a perfect 5-0 record. Princeton is next in the standings with a 4-1 mark. I had a chance earlier today to go out to IVC and talk to Coach Jim Thornton, as well as senior standout Billy Seiler, about that matchup and how the Gray Ghosts have been doing so far this season. Now, and Billy Seiler, obviously someone that you've got to know well over the years. Talk about how he has even elevated his game a little bit as a senior this season.
Well, I tell you what, I had to make a move and put Billy at the point. At the beginning of the year, I did not do that. And so I know I had to make the move, and right before Christmas we did. And since we've done that, he has played very, very well at that position, and he's made everybody else better. And a good point guard will do that. And he's been able to set up other players. Guys are scoring, more points a game than they have in the past. Even though Billy's offensive production average-wise is down, it certainly isn't by helping everybody else, get better shots. So
the year has seen some changes for you in the lineup as far as taking on that point guard role. Tell me how you've embraced that.
Well, I really enjoyed it. I like setting guys up and getting them the ball, and good thing about it is my teammates, they make their shots when I get them the ball, and it really helps the team flow, I think. And I don't mind I probably wouldn't not scoring as many points as I would on a wing or a forward, but I still enjoy the role as long as it helps the team.
Well, and you guys have played a tough schedule this weekend included. Kind of talk about how that is going to prepare you for the rest of this season, especially when it comes tournament time.
Well, we've had no home games in the last besides last Friday in about 3 weeks, and that really helps us because we've been playing on the road. We're not used to being in a comfortable environment. We go to Peoria Christian where it's a big game and great environment to play in, a lot of noise, and it just helps to play in games like Princeton's packed the place where we'd be comfortable there because we're so used to that kind of environment.
And I know Terrell Williams also a key member of this team. I seen occasions where you want him to go to the rim a little bit more on both ends of the court, but tell me about his play for you this season.
Well, Terrell's really matured from last year. You know, he's been a constant. He plays hard, doesn't take a play off, guards hard all the time in games, in practice the same way. Offensively, he's gotten a little bit better. You know, he's been able to, you know, find gaps, and we do want him to take the ball to the basket at times, and he's an extremely athletic player. And his skills have gotten a lot better, and it's showing.
A big weekend for you guys, obviously a big matchup on Saturday with Orion, but also tomorrow night a huge conference showdown with Princeton, a team that really brings an element in playing 10 to 14 guys that you really don't see that often.
No, you really don't, and we've had all week to prepare, and you know, communication will be a big thing when they sub in and sub out. And we've talked about that. We've worked on press breaks. They throw a couple different presses at you, and they get up and down the floor. So we're going to have to play a complete basketball game. We know that Princeton's going to give us everything that they got tomorrow night because they're pretty much in a must-win situation.
Really a big weekend for you guys, and it starts tomorrow night against Princeton. Tell me about how hard you guys have been working in practice to prepare for that matchup.
Well, we take it a game at a time. So once last Friday's game was over, we focused our practice schedule on Princeton. That's what we've been thinking about all week. We're excited to play in a good environment against a good team, and just another conference game to us. We can't get too excited about it.
Well, the Woodruff news was about the only dark cloud hanging over Lorene Ramsey Gymnasium on Monday, where the River City Shootout had its 17th year. That event had been played at various gyms over the years, namely Carver Arena and Robertson Fieldhouse. But I think everyone I talked to on Monday felt that this year's event at ICC was a big success. Past events at the Civic Center and at Robertson just didn't draw enough people to generate a lot of excitement, but most everyone thought that the 1,000 or so who came through the doors at the Low Ram definitely created a buzz, and the event felt right over there. Everyone was in favor of returning it to there, and here's what event co-organizer Chris Perry, the athletics director at Central, had to say about it.
Our overhead was significantly lower than it has been in the past. Some of that certainly was a relationship that we're developing with Tony here at ICC. It's a little tougher, I think, being at ICC as compared to the Fieldhouse on Main Street. We're not getting that walk-up student traffic that we got.
So at this point, are you confident this will be back for an 18th year?
I think we'll be back for an 18th year. Very, very, very confident. Whether it'll be here or at the new Bradley complex, that remains to be seen.
But in addition to the fans, there were quite a few college coaches on hand. Illinois' Wayne McClain was there. An assistant coach from Cal came all the way from Berkeley, California to watch a New Trier kid. Several Division II coaches, as well as Farmington native Ben Wiersba, who's now an assistant at the University of Evansville. Here's what Ben the Bomber from Farmington said.
It's a chance where you can get out and see a lot of different players at one time. And with the NCAA shrinking up the spring recruiting, you can see a lot of young kids all at one time.
And as far as next year, Perry did say that Bradley Athletics Director Ken Cavanaugh is interested in hosting the event at Bradley's new on-campus facility, which is expected to be completed later this year. But it sounds like the folks at ICC are committed to keeping it at their place as well. Here's what ICC assistant Fred Dixon says about the shootout.
I think it went extremely well for the first time having it. But anytime, you know, you can have the city schools come here, we embrace them like our own, have them use our locker rooms. They're like honorary Cougars for the day. Well, I think it's to go back to ICC because this is home and it's personal and it's worn in. You know, it's not like hard, brand new furniture. This furniture nice and worn in, and it's the ambiance here. You come, you get away from the city over here to East Peoria a little bit, you know, a little driveway. I think it's great.
And finally, we'll wrap up this week's edition of iHoops by taking a look at our Journal Star area rankings.
Thanks, Greg, and thanks once again to all of you joining us for week 2 of iHoops. We invite you to check out pjstar.com every day, but be sure to come back next week and check us out for week 3 of iHoops. Have a good weekend.
Till then.